talk about secrets. Family secrets, some of my own secrets, police secrets, and FBI secrets. And a lot of these secrets I wrote about or tried to write about. But secret number one, I found the Holocaust in my family's basement. It was 1962. This was 31646 Stone Street, Merriman and Schoolcraft. And for some reason, my basement was a scary place to me when I was a kid. And in it, I found a book called I Survived Hitler's Hell. And it was written by A.P. Gwiazdowski. And I had no idea who Gwiazdowski was. I had no idea how to pronounce it because my name was Charles. And that was before I was a reader. But on the cover was this twisted red cross, a swastika. I didn't know what that was. And there was a man about to be guillotined, and there was a soldier behind. And I opened that book to the picture section, and there was a pretty little girl about my age. And she was atop a pile of bodies. She was dead too. And that freaked me out. To this day, I mean, it kind of gets me upset thinking about that picture and the other pictures. And I went running out of that basement. And I think when I became a writer, a researcher, a seeker of uncovering the truth was in that basement when I was 6 years old. I don't have many memories back that far, but that memory I will never, ever, ever forget. And what I learned as I got older, made a trip to Poland with my mother in 1989. We were cracking down on solidarity again. We went and we saw my mom's house, this house, in Suwałki, Poland. And this picture was taken in about 1942. My grandfather, A.P. Gwiazdowski, Alexander, Agnes, my grandmother, Basha, she went by Basha then, Barbara, and my Uncle Richard. And we walked down the lane, we went to this very house where I learned my grandfather sent my 12-year-old mother to the end of the lane to watch for the Gestapo and the SS. My uncle, who was a teen, had been arrested with the rest of the high school class because they all worked in the underground. My grandfather had an illegal radio, which was a capital crime for a Pole to have, and he had locked the door. And he sends my mom out to watch for the Nazis, and he's listening to the radio. And of course, the Nazis do show up, and she's banging and banging on the door, and he can't hear her because he's listening to the radio. So they kick it in, they arrest him in front of her, and she won't see him for another 5 years because he was convicted of treason against the Third Reich, and among other things, working in an underground railroad, helping his Jewish neighbors escape to Lithuania. The Poles in his group, he had an American passport, which is a long story I won't get into, and his death sentence was commuted to 7 years in a penitentiary. He was in Königsberg, Prussia, for the bulk of the war. So I, pretty much my entire life, I've been trying to get to the truth of what happened during the war and what my family's role in it was. And so I learned such things as my uncle was tortured in Pawiak prison in Warsaw. He was taken away from the family. He, for some reason, wasn't prosecuted. One of my aunts was taken as a slave to Germany. My mom missed school the day all her classmates were taken for slaves. So she survived the war. I read Polish histories. My mom translated the Polish into English. And I did Freedom of Information Act requests to the FBI to learn about my grandfather. And one of the wonderful things is I found, well, everything they told me about their history was true. There weren't any lies in I Survived Hitler's Hell or the other books my relatives wrote. But what I found out is something that still confounds me to this day about my grandfather and the other people in the underground. They were rabidly anti-Semitic. They were anti-Semites. My grandfather, before the war and after the war, wrote horrible things about Jewish people. And here's a man who risked his life, my mom's life. Everyone that worked in that underground was subject to being executed, and most of the people that worked with them in the underground were executed. And you had, I still don't understand why someone with his bigotry would save his neighbors except his heart. He grew up a Catholic, and he, I believe, thought the Jewish people in his town were still his neighbors, even though he had these bigoted views, and that they were his Poles, they were his Jews, and that it was this feeling of we're all in it together now, this is wartime, so we're going to put our petty disagreements aside. But it still confounds me. And in my family, there's some disagreement about whether I should have exposed my grandfather in this way, because he was a hero. There's no question he was a hero. He risked his life to save his neighbors. But I'm proud to say that this book, Listening to Chopin While Fighting Nazis, was donated by a Jewish family whose relatives were murdered at Auschwitz. It was donated to Yad Vashem. And it was one thing my mom always talked about, wanting our family to be righteous Gentiles on the Book of Honor in Jerusalem, which never happened because we didn't have the eyewitnesses. But her story did get to Yad Vashem, and I'm happy it happened. I'm sorry that she wasn't alive to learn of that, but I believe, as they say, may her memory be a blessing. Other people in other cultures say presente. She's here, she's with me now, she's with all of you, and that's one of my proudest achievements as an adult, is having this book at Yad Vashem.